Mr. Ireland, pray, where did you take your leave of your brother, Mr. Ireland, who was executed in summer 1678, and when?
I took my leave of him at the beginning of August.
What day in August, do you remember?
3rd of August.
Where was it?
My own lodging.
Where was your lodging?
In Russell Street, Covent Garden.
No, tell us again the time when it was.
It was on Saturday morning, as I remember, the 3rd of August, Saturday after St. Ignatius's Day.
How come you remember so particularly that it was then?
Because upon St. Ignatius's Day, we were invited to Mr. Gifford, the Hammersmith. My brother, my mother and I were invited to stay all night, but my brother refused to stay because...
Which brother? What was his name?
William Ireland.
Did they stay there?
No, my lord. My brother came home on foot. We stayed all night.
Here is an almanac of that year, and the 3rd of August was on a Saturday.
He said he couldn't stay because he was to go into the country upon Saturday. I asked him why would he set out on Saturday, and says he, I'll go to Standon, there I shall meet with my Lord Aston and his family, and have an opportunity to go with him into Staffordshire.
He says he went out to town on Saturday after St. Ignatius's Day, which was Saturday the 3rd of August, but there being a discourse between him and his brother why he should make choice of a Saturday, which he thought, it seems, was an inconvenient day to take a journey on. And upon that, his brother made answer again that night he would only go to Standon, to my Lord Aston's house, where he should meet with company to go along with him into Staffordshire. What day of the week was St. Ignatius's Day?
St. Ignatius's Day was on a Wednesday.
What day of the month is St. Ignatius's Day?
It's either the last day of July or the 1st of August.
Look on your almanac if you have any one of that year, Mr. Attorney.
We have no such saint in our almanac.
It was, as near as I can remember, the 3rd of August that he went out to town.
The 3rd of August at that time was on a Saturday, Lord Peter. St. Ignatius's Day is always the last day of July, my lord.
In this almanac, another saint is Justel de Moat, and that is Bishop German. And in my almanac, there it is Justel them both out. But my Lord Peter says it's always the last day of July, and that was on a Wednesday that year.
I remember it was on a Wednesday.
And you're sure he went out to town the Saturday after?
Yes, I'm sure he went out to town then, but I asked him why he would go on a Saturday. And he told me he would go back to Standon that night.
And that does hold, according to the computation, to be the 3rd of August.
My lord, he's not positive in this that he went out to town the 3rd of August.
Yes, but he is, for he says that he was the Wednesday before, which was St. Ignatius's Day, with him a little way out to town.
And that it was Saturday after he went out to town, and he gives the reason that he entered into a discourse with him why he would go on Saturday. And he made that answer, which you hear.
Mr. Oates knows what day St. Ignatius's Day is upon, I presume.
It is the last day of July, I think.
As many of you will know, I'm absolutely fascinated by naturalistic speech in history. Many of our films that me and my friends have made have taken a very naturalistic approach to dialogue, including an upcoming web series that we're making that's set historically, where one of the driving forces was that we wanted the dialogue to be as historically accurate and as naturalistic as possible. So finding something like this from so far back in time, where it appears as though real speech has been transcribed faithfully, is an absolute godsend for me. Of course, you never know to what extent it's genuinely been transcribed faithfully, but there are things like interruptions, discourse markers, which to me suggest that the transcriber probably was being quite accurate in their representation of what the people said. Some of the people whose words are transcribed here are known historical figures who there are paintings of. So it's absolutely fascinating to get some glimpse into that person's speech patterns and also be able to see what they looked like. One thing that I didn't pay too close attention to here was the possible regional accents of some of those known historical figures. One of them, for example, I think the Lord Chief Justice, was probably from Wales. So I did put a little bit of effort in some takes into trilling the R's in more environments, because some historical sources suggest that that was a big thing in Welsh accents. But I ended up realising that things like vowel qualities would take an enormous amount of research, and I was already halfway through the video when I started doing it. So I thought, I'll just have him have a more or less southeastern English accent throughout throughout the recording. Now, southeastern English accent might surprise some people if you're new to this channel, because of course the accents sound Irish, as I pointed out at the beginning. There is a wealth of phonetic description from the 1580s onwards, where people, particularly in the southeast of England, described their own pronunciation, described how their tongue and lips moved while they pronounced sounds. I have various other videos on that topic if you want to watch them. It may seem unbelievable, but the evidence is pretty strong, and the evidence does direct us to an accent that sounds surprisingly Irish, even in the southeast of England. The reason that modern Irish people speak like that is probably because that's when the plantation of a lot of Ireland by English speakers happened, and the accent has changed a lot in England and it hasn't changed as much in Ireland. I also, because I only had myself to work with, I changed the gender of one of the characters. Mrs. Anne Ireland here is presented as Mr. A. Ireland. That was a woman in real life, but I couldn't find an actress at short notice who would do the required dialect work. I probably could have found one if I'd looked around for longer. But a couple of things I find interesting are places where the speech seems surprisingly modern, turns of phrase that you maybe wouldn't expect in the 1600s. The one that I first noticed when I read through it initially was, how come you remember so particularly that it was then? When I was a kid, I'd always assumed that how come was a fairly modern expression. And I think, in fact, the online etymological dictionary might not have it appearing until quite a bit later than the trial of Titus Oates, so maybe the researchers there just weren't aware of that text. And another thing that I find very interesting is that when Titus Oates says she is not positive that it happened on that date, or something along those lines, the Attorney General responds, "Yes, but she is." And to me, that strikes me as very modern phrasing, the idea of responding, the idea of contradicting someone by saying, "Yes, but." Even when the yes doesn't acknowledge anything correct in the statement that you're contradicting. That's a very interesting thing. It's something that I know a lot of people to do nowadays. And yeah, it's lovely to know that if you were writing something set in the 1680s, you would have justification for using such a modern expression. I'd love to do a longer video analysing this text in more detail at some point, but I just thought this would be a nice short one for people who are casually interested in historical linguistics, but not in the kind of academic side of it. Thank you very much for watching. I have a Patreon. Thank you very much to anyone who kindly donates to that. I also have a Substack where I release articles to supplement these videos, and a Discord server. And me and my friends have a film production company, and we're releasing a film in 2 weeks. It's not set that historically, it's set in 2020. It's called The Mystery of the Romans. Watch that if you'd like to. I feel like that's enough self-promo for such a short video. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you again soon.